Know me? I'm Steve Bloom. I'm an old friend of the O'Neill family. I'm sad, though, that every time I'm asked to speak at one of these events, it's to bury another O'Neill. First, it was Jerry Sr. I spoke at his funeral. Several years later, it was Marge O'Neill's funeral, and I spoke there. And today, I find myself having to speak about the passing of one of my oldest, dearest, and best friends I've ever known, Jerry O'Neill. What? Really? It's not a funeral? It's a birthday? Well, that sucks. That's going to screw me up. Can't use that joke. Can't use that joke. Excuse me for a minute. Hi, it's Steve Bloom. Is it too late to cancel those flowers for O'Neill? Okay, thank you. Okay, now where was I? Oh, yeah. Some familiar faces, and like I said, I know a lot of you in the room. But how many of you know Jerry from AA? Can I get a show of hands?
It's anonymous.
Not very anonymous, are you? I'd suggest you find another moment of clarity or go back to drinking when you could keep secrets. Oh yeah, Jerry, by the way, great place to have a party with your AA friends. Very sensitive. Was the Jack Daniels tour closed today? Oh, I'm sorry, that was insensitive of me. On that note, hi, I'm Steve. I'm unemployed.
Hi, Steve!
Hi, Steve. On a more serious note, I met Jerry about 30 years ago in a pretty strange situation. But I tell you, seldom in life does fate bring two people together that become such kindred spirits, where you meet somebody that's so loving, so giving, so selfless, a man that inspires others, a man whose strength isn't measured by muscle or brawn, but by the purity of his heart and the giving of his soul. But enough about me. We're talking about Jerry today. You know, I don't want to say Jerry's been around for a long time, but I think you'll see he's been an inspiration to a lot of people for quite a while. I'm sure you've seen this painting on the Sistine Chapel. It's called God Creating Adam, and Jerry was the inspiration for that as well. Now, some of you know Jerry from his sober years, but let me tell you, it wasn't always like that. Actually, Jerry started drinking at a very early age. Back then, believe me when I say, Jerry could drink with the best of them, but it's evident by the people in this room he chose to drink with the worst of them. Because of the drinking, he also made some very, very bad choices throughout the journey of his life. Take, for example, when Jerry joined the hippie movement. I don't care how stoned anyone was back those days. Even Ray Charles could see this was not a good look on a skinny Irishman. And I'm not even talking about the outfit. Hey, Jer, I got a call the other day. Sly and the Family Stone called. They want their hair back. But as a friend, I need to be honest with you. If you insisted on trying to pull off this look, you should have gone for Richard Simmons more than Richard Pryor. Just a thought, pal. Thankfully, the late 60s and early 70s came and went. At least I thought we'd all be happy about that, and for the most part we were, until another one of Jerry's phases began. Take a skinny white guy with no rhythm, add some gold chains and a silk shirt during the disco era, and what do you have? Another form of birth control. Damn, there's that hair again. I guess we don't learn from our mistakes. But then again, there's a saying that things can always be worse. And that brings me to Jerry's next phase. As he continued to drink and still made some rather poor choices. I knocked on the door one day, and when he opened the door, this is what I saw. Now mind you, I'm into nylons, garter belts, and corsets, but there's a time and a place for everything. However, not only am I pretty confident this was not the time, I'm damn sure this would never be the place. But as I don't judge my friends, just let it go and wondered how much more I had to get Jerry to drink before he could start turning tricks for me down at Belmont and Broadway. After all, I may be his friend, but I'm still an entrepreneur and I see opportunity where I can. The years kept passing and my pal Jerry kept drinking. And they say for every action there's an opposite and equal reaction. In Jerry's case, that meant more bad choices. I don't know if it was to keep his skinny ass and bones warm or simply to get a tan, but it was obvious to a lot of the close friends in this room that he was just falling farther from any degree of sanity. I doubt if Jerry even remembers our trip to Key West. I doubt if Jerry remembers our trip to Key West, but even the residents remember it too well. Even as liberal as they are, even the gay community shunned his presence. A drunken weekend, another bad choice, and we were banned forever from going back to Key West. Rumor has it that he was also banned from Mardi Gras, the Brazilian Carnival, and the gay pride parades. Not due to any sexual preference, mind you, but just rather a really poor choice of style that offended everyone. You know, Jerry claims often to be a sports fan, and he is. He's most passionate when it comes to golf and hockey. But when Jerry drank, he liked all sports, and bad things continued to happen. Here he is at a baseball game. Jerry, I know we'll debate this forever, but once again, I'm standing firm. Streaking is a hobby, not a sport.
Jerry, you don't have that much hair! Come on!
You want to take a look?
It's all gray now!
Anyways, once again, Jerry's fallen in love with the sun, and he became increasingly more comfortable with his own nudity, and continued to drink and make more choices, under the misconception he was doing something right. Now, most of his old friends here, when Jerry started talking about how he's learning how to multitask, getting his act in order, we were all thinking things were going to turn around, unless you live next door to him, where I did, where this was his idea of multitasking. When Jerry moved the toilet outside his home so he could sunbathe, talk on the phone, and do his business, his idea of multitasking, mind you, all his friends finally saw that things were quickly going south for our very beloved friend. Hell, even Andy Dick would have seen this as, hitting rock bottom. Well, a bunch of us talked to Jerry about the direction his life was taking, and thankfully he started to listen. He began to curtail his drinking and tried to get his life back on track. Now, we all know Jerry's a pretty humble guy who rarely speaks of his successes. So only a few of you probably know that Jerry actually auditioned for a new TV series, back in the late 80s. Once he found out he landed the part, we celebrated like there was no tomorrow. And there wasn't. One drunk day led to two, which led to 3 or 4, or a week of blackout binge drinking. Who the hell remembers? The bottom line is that drinking had once again ruined an otherwise good thing for Jer. Who knows where he would have been if he just remembered to go to work? But always trying to find the silver lining, Jerry consoled himself knowing that a show about nothing would never last. He was always a good judge of the future. How'd that beta deck and the beta tapes work out for you, Jer?
I almost got it working.
But unfortunately, Jerry now had the acting bug that so many people catch. He auditioned for role after role, but because of his drinking, not much was happening. Not until he got a call out of the blue one day from a movie producer in, of all places, Key West, who remembered Jerry from that fateful weekend trip. Well, not the dream role, it was after all an acting job, and Jerry jumped into it with all the gusto he could. And that was both good news and bad news. The bad news was the role he played. The good news, I believe, was that this was the ultimate turning point for Jer. The role was Don Quixote. The movies, a gay porn trilogy called Men of Almuncia. For obvious reasons, Jerry rarely spoke of this job, but I think it was certainly his moment of clarity. I remember when Jerry came to me and let me know after that he decided to stop drinking forever and join AA. After all, it was his 3rd movie in this trilogy. I asked him in sincerity, Jerry, was it the bad decisions that drinking caused you to make? Jerry, being the positive guy, said, no, you know what, we all make bad choices in life. I asked him, was it the hangover you just can't stand, feeling like crap the next morning? Again, he replied, no. He could always deal with it if he just had another hair off the dog that bit him. I asked him, why then, Jer? What changed your thoughts on drinking so much that you'd make such a drastic and permanent life change? He looked at me with the purest of sincerity, said, lately, Steve, Every time I black out from drinking, the next morning I wake up and my ass hurts. Whatever the reason, Jer, we're all glad you quit drinking. While we had a lot of fun back in our day, I'm happier you're still here with us today, and the laughs and the love that you spread to everyone. Everyone, when I say we love you and we love having you in our lives. Happy birthday, my friends. How about a song for Jer? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jerry. Happy birthday to you.
I learned that in the trilogy. Come on, Joe. Part of this.
Megan, say something. Say something to you.
And a special thank you to the band for allowing me to do that. And we have one more, Jerry, we have one more special guest speaker for you. You might know him as the guy that gets younger every day. Not older. There we go.
They're there.
Fornication. For an occasion like this. I thought it would be appropriate to honor the poet with a poem. I've composed a brief haiku titled 7.